Welcome back, you moto fanatics. This is the shit show. This is episode 3. We really appreciate everyone that stuck around for episode 2, but we've got a special guest with us. We've got Cheyenne Harmon. Unfortunately, he's busted up, but he is the first guy to get a pro license through the Amsoil Arena Cross series when it was the road to Supercross. And then next, we've got the mad scientist,
fanatics.
Coach Robb Beams. And then we also have Mr. Cookie himself, Chris Cooksey, with the Cooksey mob.
I think somebody's got their volume on.
But he is the first guy to get.
I think we should be good by now. Finally, I think
somebody
we
is
should be good.
echoing.
Somebody in the chat tell us if it seems like we're echoing. But how the hell are you guys doing?
Because one
I
of
do
you
hear
guys.
somebody echoing.
Then we also have Mr. Cookie himself,
Yeah.
Chris Cooksey.
So you're playing it with volume, Johnny, while you're recording it.
I think somebody's got their volume on.
See?
No, there shouldn't be anything more. See, leave it up to me. That should be end. It should be over with now. The intro is destroyed, but there should be no more echo anymore.
This is called a shit show for a reason, right?
It is
Yeah,
absolutely
let's
a
just
shit
start
show.
off right from the bat.
And
here.
who's
So,
complaining about me and my day job? Let's
Yeah,
see.
we're just gonna sit here and enjoy the
The
shit
show like this,
that-
we definitely need a day job.
Well, we know that YouTube doesn't pay for shit. But anyway, hey, Tim says that there's still an echo. Tim, I don't think there's an echo. I think we're
They're a
good
little
now.
bit behind us, Johnny. So just chill down.
We should be good. We should be good. All right.
Tim says no more echo.
So let's talk about the purse. They have upped the purse a total of 10% with this influx of $10 million, but each round is getting like a 10% bump. I'll show it on my screen here after I take a sip of the MX Unfiltered mug. But Cheyenne, what do you think about, you're a 250 rider. You were going to race the 250 East Coast until you wadded yourself in Nebraska at the General Arena Cross series. First off, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Today's 2 weeks since that crash, so I'm kind of still a little bit in the hurt locker, so to say. The pain, it's starting to go down a little bit, but I'm still, I have a hard time sleeping at night right now. But I do therapy every day, and just kind of riding the couch, doing what I can at therapy, and then the rest of the time just kind of resting and letting this thing try to get healed up.
Are you on any hardcore medication?
No, not really. I was prescribed some stuff from the hospital that I took, and then my doctor gave me some stuff that was a little less aggressive, and then I'm getting to the point now where I'm really not taking it. But if once a day at most, before I go to sleep, to maybe help me go to sleep a little bit. But other than that, I even went a couple of days without taking it at all. So I'm doing all right on that aspect. I am very aware of the things that can happen with that stuff. So try to be very mindful of taking it when I really only need it.
Good for you, brother. Drugs are bad. As much as they are fun in the Cooksey could tell us all about it. Cooksey, what kind of drugs are you on? I know you're on all sorts of anabolics like human growth hormone and all this stuff. Like in the pre-race, before we even went live, you already talked about like, you were chewing somebody's ass out. So I don't know if that was your drug dealer or what.
No drug dealer. No drug dealer. I'm a big fan of mushrooms. I don't know if you guys have taken mushrooms and as far as they help with depression and the microdosing. I think that's a good thing. And I think with a lot of the brain injuries and the stuff they're learning about it, I think they need to look into it.
Yeah, hallucinogens, ayahuasca, all sorts of ibogaine.
Obviously, within a doctor's note, and the fact that they're legalizing it, when you legalize it, you can actually run some real tests on it and make sure you're getting the right stuff. Make sure somebody hasn't laced it with LSD or bath salts or something to really send you on a loop.
So, Coach, it said you said you broke your glasses. Like what the hell is this
Yeah,
about?
somebody was kind enough to say I've got the clean look going. I We've just had a really fun couple weeks. We started with a bathroom remodel that was supposed to take a week. It's now week number 3, so we are literally living out of boxes. And I was moving around and I smashed my damn glasses and broke them in half. So I've got my contacts in that I use to swim with, and I can't see anything up close. So I figured this look was not going to be the most impressive look for everybody to see, but at least I could see my computer with the damn glasses on. But when I take them off, I can't see a doggone thing. So right now I just don't have time to go get my eyes re-examined, but somebody had commented that I've got kind of a clean look, and I'm playing around with my hair a little bit, so I don't look like I'm bald. But no, I was just commenting to somebody who commented on my look on in the chat room. Sorry about that.
Well, that's a good segue with, I don't know if you guys can see my screen at all. Cheyenne, the big bump from winning a Supercross race, getting $12,000 to now getting a whopping $14,000. You make the main event, you make an extra $250 in the 450 class. In the 250 class, which is actually, I guess, pretty decent for getting into the main event. It's a big jump from $838 to $2,000, but they're using statistics from 2017. So of course it's going to be a big jump. But what are your thoughts on that? Is it net positive racing?
Well, more money is always better, right? So, to make the 250 night show before was 700, and then like you said, the main event money was like $830. And then obviously it's nice that they at least kind of bring the night show money up to what the 450 was, of where you at least get $1,000 for at least, getting in. If something happens, you don't make the main, at least you're still making a decent week's pay, so to say. So yeah, I'm all for it. And then obviously them up in the main event money too is really nice as well. So it's good to see it go up. Personally think, and I'm sure y'all all agree with me, should probably go up substantially more, but we'll take what we can get for now.
Yeah, $1,000 for just making the night show of 40th place. If you don't mind sharing, what did you make at the general arena cross stuff?
I was making probably around 2,000 a weekend doing the arena cross. And you're figuring in, there's 2 nights of racing and there's two main events that pay. And then there's also whole shot money, and then there's bracket racing. And if you win that, that's a little extra money. So, on a good weekend, I could make 2,500. And then you want to throw in, some bonuses and contingency and stuff, that can jump up a little bit more. But yeah, it honestly pays just if you're, as long as I do well, which I was, I was making more money than I would at Supercross,
which is crazy to think. All right, Cooksey, what are your thoughts on the jump up in purse?
Well, and somebody here, Robb B just figured it out. He said 10% on 830 is $83. So essentially they've gone up almost as much as inflation. But I would like to see what ticket prices went up compared to the salary they paid, because I'll bet you the ticket price actually increased higher than the purse that was paid out. Believe me, they covered it. I don't want to complain about more money, because I mean, it sounds bad, but we're going in the right direction. We just need to go a lot further. This is like, what's that thing when they do Marxism, where they take the chicken, they pluck all the feathers off of it, and it still likes the guy because it gives him one seed. Like, that's what they're doing with this. They're giving you that one seed.
And you make a good point with inflation, but I think everybody can attest that inflation is not really 8%. It's more like 20%. I mean, look at the price of eggs and toilet paper and houses and gas. It's gone up substantially more than 20%. And just like you were saying with the ticket prices, I didn't even think about that till now. So I will have to say thank you for making that point, because yeah, that's not that much of a increase. Coach, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at the prize purse, I just think it's absolutely horrendous. It's just, I'm fortunate enough, we do some work with some PGA pros and stuff like that. And I was talking to one, you look at the Augusta, just the Augusta round last year, the club themselves increased the prize purse by $3.5 million. The payout for first place last year was 2.7 million. Second was 1.6, and third was 870, for a total of $5.2 million for top three. And before anybody goes, oh, you're comparing golf to motocross, supercross, it'll never be the same, I would challenge you to go to Gypsy Tales and listen to Astafin talk about how to scale the revenue for the benefit of the sport and the athletes. And Astafin did not curb anything. He was as raw, and I thought he did a fantastic job of painting it. And to Chris's point, we're over here, it's like, Father, may I have some crumbs, please? It's ridiculous. The money's going up everywhere. The cost for these athletes to register, which still to me is asinine beyond belief. I just can't imagine asking a professional baseball player to pay to play. And if you do well, you might make some money back. We've kind of drank the Coca-Cola syrup for so long that if they throw a $10 million person and look at all the, kind of the circus, no pun intended, that you have to jump through and around, it's just a big game of charades is all it really is. And we're fortunate enough, we've got a great guy on with us today. And, he's like saying, I had a great weekend. I made $3,000. Are you kidding me? Johnny, I forgot which mechanic you had on. Just from your experience and who you've talked to, what's a mechanic make at the top level for an OEM team? Just ballpark.
Ballpark, let's say 50 to 75 grand.
So let's say 75 grand. If my math is right, that's a little over $6,000 a month, right? So we've got a mechanic that shows
but
up.
No benefits, no health insurance,
no health insurance, no nothing, but neither does a rider. Okay. But you stop and you think about it. And I have the utmost respect for managers, mechanics, but all of those people get guaranteed money to show up. And we've got athletes that are willing to be happy to make $3,000. Now, I'm not saying Cheyenne's got a mechanic and a truck driver and all that, but my point being is, if you go and you look, Johnny, you had it up there. What is first place for 250 and new numbers?
It's either $6 or $7 grand. It is $6,000.
All right, so you multiply that by 12, and you're looking at about 180 grand for the year. That's if you won every single main event in the 250 class. But yet a factory mechanic is going to make 75. He's going to make $6,000 a month guaranteed. And our athletes are showing up, not even sure if they're going to get paid. Please show me one sport where we all gather to see the best of the sport and they're not going to make money possibly. Or if they do, we're supposed to be happy. Would you say they increase? What's the cut to the main event now? $1,000?
Yeah, it's been like $1,200 more for the 250 class. And so truthfully,
but listen to what you just said. $1,200 doesn't buy two pairs of boots.
Well, think about what is entry fee, like 250, Cheyenne?
I think
$225.
So
it's $225, and then you got to pay for your license, which is a $250. No, it's $300. So
and then your COVID test, and then your credentials, and then your pit pass, and then your anybody pass. That you want. Yeah,
and then your gas, and then your
$500 in entry fees per round. Would that be a safe number to say, Cheyenne?
Are you including like passes with that?
Yeah. Passes for your crew, anyone associated with your program.
Yeah, well, for me, that would be a little more.
So 400?
Because normally, so it's 225, and normally I have one mechanic, and then I get one free guest pass. So, but like some of these guys who bring their families every weekend, then they're buying mechanic pass, and mom and dad and girlfriend and grandma and all them. Then you can figure probably you're looking about $450 and passes easy with your entry fee.
Go to a Major League Baseball game, and let's say A-Rod back in the day is going to bring his family. Is his family going to pay to get into a baseball game? And here's where I'm going with it, Johnny. You asked a very benign question, and I went down a long bunny trail. You've got Astafin that's rolling out the model that needs to be implemented to make it work. World Supercross is trying to go that route. All I'm saying is if you listen to what Astafin, he talks about the NBA, he talks about these other ball and stick sports. All I'm saying is a long answer to your short question. Can we please start modeling something where the athletes get a percentage, again, not redistribution of wealth, a business model where a percentage of the TV revenue goes to the teams, and now the teams make more money and the athletes make more money, and it trickles down all the way. You look at the PGA. I was looking at, because I was talking to this professional, you look at Augusta, $69 million in merchandise. Well, how many people were in A1, just ballpark? How many people were in the stands?
I mean, I think they sold out. I would have to say probably close to 50,000 or so, but I mean, that's always, and I think we're kind of talking apples to oranges when it comes to bigger sports. Cause yeah, we can, there's that saying that innovation is just undetected plagiarism. We have to take from other sports for us to grow. However, we're still a very small sport, and maybe I'm taking a different stance on this, but I'm saying that, man, this is for the fact of not just bitching more about, hey, the money's not enough. This is in the right direction. You've got the main event where they were making nothing, and now they're literally making substantially more. It's much closer to the 450 class, because what I see they're doing here is most riders would rather ride a 450 because A, the bike is easier to maintain, and two, you can make more money at it. But what Feld and Supercross is seeing is they're trying to change that to where you've got the premier class, you've got the best riders in there, especially with the rules change where they're not going to be able to be like, well, I guess you could still sort of be a lifelong 250 rider as long as you don't win a championship for multiple years. But I see them increasing the payout for the 250 class, which is going to take riders like Cheyenne and move them. Hey, as opposed to race the 450s, I'm going to race the 250 because it's can be just as profitable. I'm not going to sit here and say that, man, it's not enough money, because we all know that it's still not enough money, but the squeaky wheel is kind of getting what they want. You know, we are starting to get more money for the riders. And
but why did that money come around though, Johnny? Why did that money come around? The only reason why that money came around was because of WSX popping into the scene. We would have never seen these changes otherwise. And that's what I'm saying.
Yep, capitalism.
We can sit here, we can say, oh, we're a small sport. Listen to what Astafin says. He goes, there's no reason why we're not the number 3 sport in the United States. It's got the sex appeal. It's got the personalities. It's got the drama. It's a difficult sport. It's a man's sport. And I have to politely disagree. I don't think you're comparing apples and oranges. We're going to continue to keep ourselves down here because, like what Astafin said, we continue to sell to the same group of people, and there's such look at Netflix. We've talked about it on this show together. If Netflix got involved, I mean, they're doing it with tennis. They're now doing it with the PGA. Look at no disrespect to golfers, but they don't have look at how many different personalities we have just in the top 20 guys. And you're looking at
a
Netflix
incredibly dangerous
show.
is I believe what T Cross said in the comments, which just kind of made me laugh because but I hear you. Forgive my interruption.
No, it's your show. It's just the idea that I think we get enamored because a few dollars were thrown in and we call that progress and change. And it's no, they're doing everything they can to keep somebody from Cheyenne to packing his bags and heading overseas and going, I'll just go do the World Supercross series if the opportunity comes. This is a temporary throw at trying to take the limelight off of, we haven't taken care of the athletes. Our model is upside down and backwards. Like Astafin said, the wealth and the way the model is designed could benefit the teams and the riders and the teams and everyone involved, whether that's licensing agreements, TV contracts, merchandise, everything. And so when it comes to the purse, I think it's absolutely ludicrous. And I refuse to buy into the idea. I agree with you, Johnny. I'm sure Cheyenne appreciates a couple $100, but it just blows my mind that one of the fastest riders in the world has to be thankful for $400. It's just appalling to me. Sorry. It just is. It's just where I stand with it.
I want to add too, like Steve Astafin, he knows the numbers. Very, very few people know the numbers of what the Supercross series is profitable. He looked at buying it when it was sold to Feld. He actually had a bid in, but they didn't get their bid because of the monster trucks. So this is a guy, and I'm hard on him as an agent because I think he totally screwed Kenny's career and he shouldn't be talking about Kenny's PEDs or whatever. But when it comes to the dollars and cents of the actual series, he knows his stuff. So,
well, okay.
and
So
all I'm saying is
this
you've
is
got a gentleman that's bringing the problem and immediately finishes the sentence with a solution. And that's what we're not seeing. As soon as somebody like him provides a solution, people want to say that he's way out there. He's off his rocker. And that's why he's so frustrated. And, we could do a whole show on just this subject. And I just, when it comes to the purse money, my brother was a professional baseball player. He got a signing bonus. You know what I mean? And I don't see it's crazy to me. And the only reason why it continues to be in this vicious little circle that it's in is because nobody's willing to break the system apart. World Supercross is trying to do it. People like Astafin.
Let me interrupt you, Coach. So the sport isn't incredibly profitable. There's not as many viewers as NFL, whatever. So how do you fix it? Because the influx of money is not enough. You got to make the cost of racing cheaper for somebody like Cheyenne. You can't have a $30,000 motorcycle to be competitive to even make the night show so that you can have the opportunity to make $2,000. You need to be able to take a stock bike and go run and not have to pay that much money in order for it to really make sense. And allegedly, if we all want to talk about numbers, allegedly the numbers are for the entire Supercross series has been around allegedly 7 million views over the course of 17 races, right? Monday Night Football does the entire season of views inside of one night. So again, how you need to have more eyes.
The solution, no disrespect, Johnny, but you're looking at it upside down and backwards. You and I have talked about this. I don't own a Formula One race car. Cheyenne doesn't own a Formula One race car, but Formula One is huge because the model is reversed. The race series creates something that allows race teams to build equity in their teams. And then you build personalities around the teams, hence the Netflix series. And like Astafin said in Jace's podcast, why is Formula One moving their corporate offices to the United States? If you told me 3 years ago that the United States is going to be a huge Formula One market, you're nuts, Rob. And now they're moving their offices to the West Coast. So, Johnny, nobody owns a Formula. Yeah, it's a small market. Well, why is it a small market? Formula One, nobody owns one, but not everybody, but a lot of people watch it. See, that's why I have a problem with we've been brainwashed. Well, we're a small sport. We're a small sport.
Well, Coach, that's the deal is the numbers are small. If the numbers are bigger,
but they're never going to grow until you change the model. Formula One changed the model.
Yeah, so literally, they keep preaching, oh, it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is if you do not ever change it. If you change it and you grow with the times and start I'm with Coach. It's a broken model, and I'm tired of having a 3-hour infomercial. Yes, those of us that are diehard, but I want to see the story. I want to know about Cheyenne Harmon. I want to know where he came from, what his struggles are, how he got where he is. And then I have a reason to watch. Other than that, I see a guy jump a triple. It's really cool a couple times, but we're selling the excitement of that one event.
Racing is no longer about story. Racing. It should be more entertainment. I agree with you. Cheyenne, how are you treated at the races? Does it seem more of like an entertainment, or does it just seem incredibly focused on just trying to be professional? Because truthfully, in 2023, we know that not being professional gets eyeballs and makes money. Plain and simple.
Well, one thing that I had talked to Mike Mewey about one time, we were in the airport together, and because I was talking to him about this, I think this was probably back in 2018, about upping the purse. But another thing I mentioned is, since them and the manufacturers work so closely together, why can't they get the manufacturers to match the payout and contingency? Where if it is $1,000 just to qualify in the top 40, why isn't everybody who's on a KTM get $1,000 to be in the top 40? And if you make a main event, then it's the 2,000 or whatever. Because realistically, those manufacturers are just going to see that money come back to them in the sense of, like, if, thankfully I'm on a team this year where I'm not having to spend really a lot out of pocket, but years I've done my own program, and a lot of guys who do their own program, that money is just going back to KTM at the end of the day. We're going to buy more bikes. We're going to buy more parts. We're going to buy better parts. We're going to buy more practice tires. We're going to buy more race. I mean, all that money essentially just goes right back in the program. So essentially they're just seeing it come back to them. So I've never understood why the manufacturers, especially if we're actually paying for a bike, why can't they match the contingency of what the payout is? Maybe there's more to it. Maybe I could be off on that, but I've kind of thought, well, at least if the manufacturers can match contingency and then they up the purse a little bit, I mean, that would essentially help a little bit. But
can I explain? That is actually something I've brought up a lot about the contingency. The problem is KTM sees so much more value in paying a giant bonus to Cooper Webb for winning than Cheyenne for making the main, that they put all that money into that basket. And then when they go for the contingency budget, they're like, well, we have a bonus program for this top guy. And that took that. So it's just, I agree, but it's where they're allotting it.
Right. Yeah, I understand some of that. But still, that was just something that has kind of been an argument of like, I mean, they could do it just if they really wanted to, I feel like, but obviously probably not.
If they did what coach said and actually build the program to where they can build you as a star, they would get more value out of you making the main on that. So yeah, absolutely. But it's a whole change in the way that we look at the sport, and not just saying this is how we do it because this is the way it was done.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, like, look at the Hans guys that finished last place in Formula One, because that Netflix series, dude, everybody thinks of them as like this incredible superstar, which they are, because they're some of the best drivers in the world. But I mean, if we look at Cheyenne and these guys that are even 40th in Supercross, they are still some of the best riders in the world on a Supercross track. You absolutely make complete sense. So hopefully these conversations that are being had, people that actually have the power to make changes are trying to make changes. But again, it's up to the community to question it, because you're not going to fix something that seems to not be broken, and people are not going to all of a sudden want to spend more money for something unless they're kind of forced to. I'm talking about the powers that be. Do you guys want to continue to talk about the purse, or do you guys want to move on to the track? I mean, I feel like we could sit here for a while and bitch and moan and come up with really good ideas about the
yeah,
purse.
That's just beating a dead horse at this point.
But there's a difference between bitching and not coming up with suggestions, and bitching.
It's constructive criticism. Yeah, I know. I'm just going.
It's just about getting somebody. It's just about getting someone to think outside the box. And I would encourage everyone to go watch Astafin's show on Jace, because again, I thought he did an incredible job of articulating a solution for every rebuttal that we've heard as to why Cheyenne can't make a good living as being one of the top racers in the world here in America. So
Cheyenne, have you gotten the hospital bill yet for your tibia plateau fracture?
No, I haven't. Luckily, I do have health insurance, though.
Well, I know, but still, with health insurance, do you know what it's?
I'm not sure what it'd be. I don't think it'll be very much. I got a pretty good plan, but I haven't got the final bill yet. No.
Okay. I'm just adding to Coach's ideology here with, hey, you guys risk your lives, and even myself that never made anything still has tens of thousands of dollars in stupid medical bills. So it's just a bummer. Like, look at Heartraft. Heartraft is a factory rider that then has to have a GoFundMe to essentially pay for hospital bills. Like, how fucked up is that? I mean, Anyway, okay. So Cheyenne, let's talk about an actual Supercross rider in 2023. What do you think about the track map, and what do you think about this flat corner here? Do you like the track?
Yeah, I've been looking at. Well, I've seen the track map, and then I've also seen some of the stuff that the Dirtworks guys have posted. It looks like the track's going to be amazing. From what I see, it's going to be a good track. Far as that down the start straight turn thing, I don't know. It's kind of confusing. I've had to look at this map a few times because you can get confused easily. But I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, it's something a little different, throwing in a horseshoe there. I mean, you know, man,
To me,
I
that
think
seems one line right there. Is somebody might be able to haul ass, but you could maybe not brake check somebody, but just block somebody, but it would have to be on the inside. So therefore, I think it's just going to be one line through here. I think it's wasted space.
You couldn't be more wrong, Johnny.
yeah.
All right,
100%.
Cooksey, let's move
So-
on to. Well, what do you think about this? You think this is going to create a bunch of racing action?
100%. The only reason a flat turn ever gets one lined is because their cut's one line. That's close enough to the start gate that they're going to flatten that out after every race. So you're going to have a new line cut every single time. It's going to be just a blank canvas, and you can go anywhere you want. If you want to go deep, then you go deep. If you cut tight, like there's going to be a lot of passing there. And
Dude, I really think the
100%
only passing that's going to be there is if you outbrake check. If you outbrake somebody, and then
good.
I bet we'll see guys low side there with too much front brake.
100%. It scrambles it. It won't be the same every time because they're going to have to reset it and cut new lines. And you come around the third lap, it's going to look totally different than it did the first lap. Towards the end of the main event, it might get one lined, but for the first couple, it's a great place to set somebody up. And with a 180 going into it and 180 coming out of it, if you want to do some setups, dude, it's going to make for some good passing.
I guess it has more to do with how the actual track is going to be. If this is going to be a more rolling corner, if it's going to be a more tight corner. What do you think, Coach?
My big question is if they're going to level it out, because I don't like anything to be done on the first, not because of what we saw at round one. I just think it's a bad mistake to mess with anything for that first half of that straightaway, because we all know how important the start is. We saw the carnage with Faulkner. I don't like it. You're putting the riders into a really precarious position because they're under such incredible hard acceleration coming off that grate. And if there's a slight, I'm not saying it's got to be buttered, but I just don't understand for the life of me why you would want to put something that close to the right off the starting gate. Now, I mean, like you said, even if they do some kind of a maintenance on it, where the apex of that corner is at right in front of the doghouse, I think that creates we all know it's going to get dug down pretty deep and it's not going to be smooth. What bothers me is the beginning of the first turn. Go down to the apex where they have that left-hander coming out. I don't like that at all. Because
I disagree. I think the 180s are safer.
No. I'm sorry. I like the 180 for the start. I don't like that it's a left-hand turn coming out of the straight. Go up. Nope. There you go. So you're coming out of that left-hand turn. Now you're drag racing right at the apex of that first turn. So it goes to Chris's point. Are they going to smooth that out every moto? Because
I wouldn't want them
to me, you're messing with the apex of that first turn. And again, we've saw the carnage. Why screw with any? The start is so important for us to get off to a good, clean race. And now you're putting bikes going. I don't know. You've got all these accelerations coming out of that left-hand turn as you've just screwed up the apex of that big sweeping first turn. That's just my personal opinion. I don't like for anything associated with the start to get screwed with. And I know they're dealing with tight space. I do understand that. But like in the past tracks, when they have us merge onto that front straightaway, you notice how it's far enough down that those accelerations aren't going to totally destroy the setup for that start in the first turn. That's just my 2 cents worth on the track. I think the track's going to be good. We know historically the whoops here can be a game changer. And I'm really excited because I want to see what Craig can do in those big, nasty whoops. And obviously,
I like how there's a double in front of it.
Yep.
So it's going to slow them down a little bit. Cheyenne, do you think this is going to be one line, or do you think it's going to be just an inside and outside where you're going to be able to pass on? Would that be a passing point for you?
The only way, I don't see a ton of passes being made there. I see, as was stated a little bit ago, a lot more setup happening there where, in a situation like that, and you're racing somebody, if they let off the gas and you can just drive it in that little bit deeper and maybe get on the brakes just a little bit harder and cut down, depending on how that corner is, who knows how it's actually going to look once they throw up the hay bales or blocks or whatever there. But I can see it setting up for the next corner into that next section for some good passes potentially. But to make a pass right there, you would have to be right on somebody, or you would.
Thank you, Cheyenne. See, Cooksey, you can't just agree and then also agree with both scenarios here.
Shut up, Hopper.
You can't do that. You can't do that. You
I'll
can't
do
say,
whatever
oh,
I
there's going to
want.
be lots of passing there. Then what Cheyenne says, oh, it's going to be good setups, but there might not be that much passing here. Then you go, oh, yeah, cool. There's going to be lots of that too.
Hopper,
You can't do
Hopper.
that.
There's a 180 going in and a 180 coming out. And how you pass somebody is you inside out, just like what he said. And then you set them up and then you make the pass in the next turn. What I want to know is, Cheyenne, the whoops. I do not like when whoops have a run into them because I feel like it's just like a courage competition to see who has the balls enough to just hit them wide open, and they become kind of scary. What's your thoughts on the whoops coming out of a turn versus like with a run at them?
So it's funny because the track that I've done a lot of my training at, it's called Tapped House here in Texas. They've got two sets of whoops, and the one set of whoops is a double, and then you carry momentum in, and then the next corner is right out of a corner. I guess it really depends how they're built. If they're built nice and even and how whoops should be, then the run is not bad because you can click a gear and carry momentum, and then kind of essentially if you have enough speed coming in, you kind of can maintain your speed across them. We're out of the corner. I don't know. When you come out of the corner, obviously, if they're right out of the corner, you're full commitment before you even come out of that corner to get up on top of them.
15 minutes into the main when they're all chopped up, would you prefer they're out of a turn or with a run? Because you don't know what they're going to look like. Remember the yard sale we had at Anaheim last year after the whoops? That's what I feel like this section could be. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Well, they're trying to slow it down with that double, dude, because they can't just have a giant ass whoop section here. I mean, I guess they could, but they're trying to make it less dangerous.
If we're coming towards the end of the main, and this is just me, other people can agree, disagree. But when you come out of that corner and you hit that double and you click your gear, you can kind of just grab a breath. And then when you land, you got a little spurt of where you can maybe, rock, set up, and then get up on top. And again, it's easier to have speed coming into them like that, where you can maintain the speed, where if you're coming out of the corner, you're pretty hard on it out of that corner and all the way across. Where in that sense, like if you watch San Diego 2017, which I've been watching a lot of because it's been on YouTube, Roxon hits there's a double into the whoops. And I mean, when he lands, he literally just did it, like floats across him and it looks effortlessly. So I would say I like the double into the whoops better than right out of the corner.
The comments. No, I Cheyenne, I do agree with you. I think it's smart to have a double there as opposed to having a double at the end, because you'll see guys end up endoing into the face of it. I think this is going to be a pivotal part. Somebody like Webb may struggle a little bit more here versus somebody like Mookie, but I do like all the different lines that they have going here. And a lot of the 180-degree corners, there's not as much 90, so there is going to be more passing here. This is actually, I'm excited for this track. And I know the weather's supposed to be good, and I heard rumors that Feld actually brought in dry dirt, so that they weren't using the crappy dirt that potentially could have had lime in there mixed with the monster trucks that they did the previous weekend. So I think this is going to make for some really, really good racing.
Well,
that rhythm section out of that first turn is something that's going to be extremely scary. I mean, if history tells us anything, that rhythm section out of that first turn, come down to the left. So you go through the first turn and then come down that rhythm section. That's the area that I would be most concerned of, because if you get somebody that gets a little out of hand, and that's, to me, I start thinking about like when Trey Kennard got landed on. You start looking at, that's a very crowded section for a first straightaway.
Honestly, I like it. I think guys are going to roll. Then I think they're going to go double, step on, step off, double first lap. Second lap, I think guys are going to roll, triple, potentially quad, single. I would really like to see somebody, go cinco as far as hit 5 of them. I think that would be freaking sick as hell. But I think it's going to be fairly safe with guys going double, step on, step off. Cheyenne.
On the opening lap, you think it will be?
Yeah, on the opening lap, I
off?
think a lot of guys are going to end up doubling in step on, step off.
Gotcha.
Just because they're going to be so close.
Okay.
Cheyenne, what do you think? How would you approach this section?
If it was off the start, I mean, it doesn't really matter what they put there. I feel like it's all going to be somewhat sketchy off the start with 22 of us all battling for $1,000. We're still going for it. You know, off the start, the double line is going to probably be it, unless somebody's got a good enough gap coming up over there to the front. You know, if there's a 3-4 in there or something, you know, like say Sexton gets out, you know, a good start and he has plenty of room coming out of the corner, then, you know, he might be somebody to bust it out on the first lap. But I think for everybody else, it's just going to be doubling your way through and getting through that second corner and then getting going. At least there's not a Supercross triple right here off the get-go. That always gets a little hairy, especially if it's somewhere start.
Hold on. I got to give a shout out to Super Tramp. That's the funniest comment I've seen in a long time. Did you see what he said there about my adult body?
No, that's what got me laughing.
Cooksey is still trying to get comfortable with his adult body. Cut him a break. I'm sorry. I started laughing. That was a pretty good one. Way to go.
Well, we know you're a small guy. You know, you're pretty small in stature. You know, you're only what, 230, 7 feet,
6'4". Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty tiny.
I'm like almost Bowers size. Did you guys see Bowers at Dartmouth last week?
No, I did not.
Dude, he's got dad bod going on, but he went out there and raced.
I think that happens a lot with guys that are sort of not racing anymore. They're still doing the same amount of calorie intake, and there might be a little bit of depression in there too, because they don't have the adrenaline pumping anymore. Moving on, what Cooksey?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought maybe I have just voices in my head, or
if I said anything, it was shut up. So just keep going.
Moving on, I can mute you. You know that I can absolutely mute you. Moving on to sort of the fill-ins. We don't know if KTM is going to fill in for Marv because he's got a hurt wrist. Maybe it's broken wrist. Don't know entirely sure. But what do you guys think Mufford is going to do on the Pro Circuit Faulkner bike?
Did you say Mufford?
Mumford.
You said Mufford.
Mumford. Like Ford. First on race day.
Is he actually
there's
racing San Diego? Because
live show.
What I saw, he was on the Kawasaki riding outdoors. I don't think he's ready for Supercross yet. I don't think you're going to see him this weekend. That's my opinion. I don't know. Somebody could maybe update me.
I thought I heard Oakland.
That's what I heard was Oakland as well.
Yeah. So sorry, you're going to have to wait on their Mufford stuff, Hopper.
All right. Well, okay. Well, we will wait on Mumford. KTM, do you guys think that they're going to have a fill in for Marv?
No.
Why?
They've already got 2 guys. I mean, I don't think they need, I think if they were down to 1 guy, maybe, and plus we don't even know if Marv's out for the rest of the year because he doesn't need Supercross only. So, I mean, they've already got 2 bikes out on the track. I don't see them filling that. Maybe if 2 guys were hurt out for the season, potentially, but with them already having 3 guys and 1 only being out for potentially a couple races, I don't see them doing that. Even if he was out for the whole year, I don't see them putting a third guy on there. I don't think they need it.
No,
I agree.
Contractually, they don't need to do it. I mean, if you look at whatever those teams man at the beginning of the season, that's where your sponsorship obligations, you know, it's X amount of riders, X amount of coverage. And I'm with you. It's not going to be necessary because they still have the 2 bikes out there. So I would have to agree with you, Cheyenne, 100%.
Cheyenne is so much smarter than you, Johnny. Did you notice that?
There's no argument there, right? He's still racing bikes. I'm just sitting here bitching and talking about bikes. Do you guys think that potentially that having a practice rider fill in, or anything like eventually with the sport, because you always have second string on every other sport out there to have the fill-in if you got the bike just sitting there? Or do you think it's more of a cost thing why they won't have put a rider on that bike?
I think
go
it's a
ahead.
test rider that says no thank you, because correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Tedesco still doing Cowie's work? I know Brock Tickles doing Cowie. I think Tedesco is doing Pro Circuit. Trey Kennard was doing Honda till he got hurt. So no, I don't see those guys getting a call up, because I don't think they want to come back.
Well, it's okay. So World Supercross has an interesting take on this. So World Supercross, the teams get penalized if they don't have the right amount of riders out there because they don't have to qualify. So I was actually talking to Tony Alessi, and he was saying they were potentially going to do a thing where all the teams chipped in to have a couple of riders ready to go for any team. I thought that was an interesting idea. If all the teams just chipped in and had a couple dudes ready to go. I don't know that it could work in the business model that Feld is doing, but I think for World Supercross, I think they're going to probably end up doing something like that. Maybe they'll have Cheyenne Harmon ready to go. Who knows?
Hey, maybe they'll just put me in a spot and somebody else can be my backup.
Well, what if Tony Alessi comes to you and says, "Hey, we need a backup. Can you stay ready? Like, and we're going to give you a salary." I mean, what do you say to that?
Oh yeah. You can't say no to that. Definitely. That would be a good deal for sure. Obviously, I would like to have a guaranteed spot, but if there wasn't a guaranteed spot and that opportunity came about, yeah, definitely. Because, if you're sitting there on standby and you're getting paid to stay ready, because I'm going to be riding. I would be riding or training one way or the other. So if I had that makes it even better. And especially if they're supplying some equipment.
Yeah, well, and that's it. That's the whole program, is they'll have to figure out a way to pool that, decide which. So what you do is essentially you're going to get the call, because World Supercross is going to have somebody get hurt, and they're going to have like 1, 2, 3, 4 ready to go.
Are you talking about having like a reserve rider not on for like all of the teams, not just
all the teams chip into a little pool, and they have like 4 guys ready to go. Say if Rick Ware loses a guy, he goes number 1. Next round, MCR loses a guy, Cheyenne's already riding for Rick Ware, they go to number 2. But they have this pool of money to have 4 guys ready to go, so nobody loses out by not having a full team.
Well, then is it going to be just kind of lottery style? If your guys are the first guy that gets hurt, you get to pick which rider you want?
Well, if two teams the same weekend, they'll have to figure that out. But that's just that was just the idea that was being kicked around. I don't know if it'll work or not, but I thought it was a great idea.
Hey, quick, everybody that's watching this, if you are enjoying this, make sure in the description you go follow all these motherfuckers and help them out. The descriptions are down there. Like it, share it to somebody else. We're going to continue this show called The Shit Show every weekend of Supercross. So, Coach, what do you think about the whole reserve rider?
I think it's brilliant. I don't know why any team doesn't do it already. It just doesn't make sense to me. When you look at somebody like you look at the team Star Yamaha, remember when they put Chiz out there and they gave him a 2 or 3 race deal and paid him, from what I understand, quite a bit of money. It's just simply to avoid the fines from Monster for not having representation on the track. I mean, it was pretty cut and dry. But I just look at the amount of resources that are put into these bikes. And, you have somebody like a Cheyenne who's always got himself in shape, sans an injury. I don't know of a race that Cheyenne hasn't finished. And, you look at that, that's an incredible track record. And I look at all the R&D dollars and the time and resources to get these rigs to the races. I would never, in my opinion, want to have a bike sitting idle. It's because even if you take somebody like Marv's bike, if you've got somebody that could go out and put that in a race setting, and the amount of telemetry that you could get out of it would be absolutely priceless. How many times do we hear nothing we do at the test track ever emulates what race day conditions look like? So you throw somebody like Cheyenne on a bike and, give them more time than they, I believe it was Butler Brothers gave Kevin Morantz. I think he got 4 or 5 days. That was all he got on the bike. So it's pretty hard to shake a bike down. But if you have a bike sitting idle and you wanted to get more information out of it, I don't see why you wouldn't want to put a Cheyenne out there, talented, could push the bike. He's going to give you different information because he's relatively new to the bike, but that would be priceless for KTM. If they're going to bring a Max Volan up, what would somebody, that new person on a new bike in a race setting would be absolutely priceless. My question to Chris's point, though, is do you think Cheyenne will get pulled up to World Supercross, or do you think he'll get pulled into the Super D Duper D series that's out there?
Say what?
So we talked last week that it's a very, very long series, and it's going to be the world of attrition. What do you think? Will Cheyenne get pulled into somebody's team that's here stateside, or do you think he gets pulled into World Supercross first? Who calls him first?
I would say World Supercross because they're going to be doing more fill-ins, but I don't know. I think anyone that needs a good rider would be smart to call Cheyenne.
No. Cheyenne is not the question. It's about how long before we start to see the attrition start to hit us. Marv's out, not because of fatigue, but when we start to get to the latter part of a typical Supercross season and that normal Supercross fatigue kicks in, and these guys have very little to no break at all, and they got to go right into outdoors and then try to nail that again and then come back and then extend it 3 more races. When do we see Supercross fatigue start taking its toll?
Soon. I don't know. That's a
This
wide open.
weekend.
It's hard to
This
say one or
weekend.
the other. Yeah, it's hard to say one or the other because this series goes so much sooner than the other series. It's hard to tell. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Just something to think about. That's all I'm
Hey,
saying when you're talking about a fill-in
good
rider.
segue. All right, so you've got Tomac that is in his prime. That seems like he's an endurance god. Is there anybody that can beat him? And speaking of the fabulous progressive Suzuki with factory parts, do you think that he is going to make it happen? Because in my opinion, if Roczen does not get on the podium this weekend, it is going to be considerably harder for him to make a showing later on in the series. Cheyenne, I know you're a current racer, but I know you're a fan too. What do you think is going to go down at round 2?
Well, I mean, the Tomac wagon, it's rolling. It's hard to deny that he doesn't look good. You know, there's one thing about his bike that I notice that's different than everybody else's. His suspension is a little bit softer, and I think that allows. So on Supercross, as y'all know, but we run our bikes very, very stiff. I mean, to the point where they're uncomfortable. They're so stiff. And I think we've gotten to the point where it makes the bikes hard to ride in the sense when the track, like Anaheim 1, when the track starts getting chopped up and holes, it makes it harder to ride, where Tomac's bike turns on a dime. I mean, when you watch his forks coming in the corner, I mean, they're pretty much compressed all the way compared to when you look at Webb's bike. And I think that is a big thing, and comfort. And in racing, as y'all know, comfort is huge. So I have to say that Tomac's pretty comfortable looking right now compared to anybody else we saw at A1. I think the only other guy that, not that anybody doesn't have a chance of beating him, but if, you know, you have to think Sexton's going to come in feeling pretty good because last time he was in San Diego, he won. If the track ends up being dry like a normal San Diego, you got to think Jason Anderson's going to be really good too. He's really good at sliding the rear end around, and he's really good at those hard pack style tracks. So those are kind of the 2 guys I'm going to be looking for to be battling Tomac. But
Cooksey just decided to ditch.
He's out.
He's out. So Cheyenne, you think that Tomac probably sets his bike up not for the first couple laps, but we're talking, you know, laps 13 to 20 when the track is getting super chopped up? You think that's where his setup is gold?
You know, well, yes and no, because essentially he's not far off of his pace stays pretty consistent the whole way through. But it is very easy to set your bike up. And I've made the mistake of setting my bike up and doing sprint laps and getting it set up and then getting halfway through a main event. And, you know, you're maybe not pushing as hard as you are at the beginning and your bike becomes a lot more rigid. But he's definitely got it set up really well. And it's actually something I've kind of taken into consideration watching his bike and setting my bike up with just a little bit softer setup. It's still stiffer than what most other people will ride, but it allows the bike to corner a little bit better and absorb some of the chop that the track gets, where things are not so harsh in your hands or your feet. And when I watch Tomac's bike, it looks like he's riding on a cloud. It's just soaking things up, and he's using every bit of the suspension. And it doesn't look like it's riding up on top like some of the other guys' bikes. And that's a big thing on the 450, especially like you said, halfway through that main event, and you're getting into some rough stuff, and the whoops are getting beat up, and you're having to cut down a little earlier in the corners. I think his bike's the best.
Cheyenne, I'm putting you on the spot. Does he win, or does somebody beat him? And Roczen with the Suzuki, he's got a lot of pressure on him. I feel like he's kind of the wild card. I think that round 2 is actually going to act out more of like an A1, where guys are still going to be super nervous and are going to push a little bit harder because of that week off. So putting you on the spot here. Does he win? Who wins?
I'm Tomac for the win. I think Tomac's going to get the win this weekend. I do think Roczen gets in there at some point this year with the win.
Seriously?
I think he can. I think he can. I mean,
Shut up, Cooksey. Anti-Suzuki kickstart this mumbo jumbo.
I'm actually really interested to see how he does this weekend with, I'm sure y'all all saw his Instagram post with factory connection stuff. I'm interested to see how he does, because when he had that factory connection on his Honda, he rode the Honda way better. So that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, but you honestly think, Cheyenne, let's be real. I like the Suzuki. I even said I would buy a Suzuki because at my level, it doesn't matter. But at the highest level, like, you're tight with Bogle. Like, you heard the things, the bike. Like, really, you honestly think he can win on that thing?
So from what I've heard is that the bike, that they've actually detuned it a little bit from how far as power goes. From what I hear, that's not the issue. I think Roczen's good enough to put that bike up front in a race. I don't think he wins the championship on it. And I'm not saying that he will win either, but I don't, if he win or if he wins a race, I won't be shocked. I won't be like, holy crap, he actually did it. I was actually expecting A1. I was actually kind of half expecting him to win A1.
See, and I thought if he had any chance, it would be A1. And now that they're past that, I'm like, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, and like you said, I think a lot of guys think A1 will be kind of more played out this weekend if the track's kind of, more of your average track where there's not soft transitions and all that. I don't know, man. He might come out swinging this weekend, but I don't know. It's kind of one of those coin tosses. It's either he's going to do good on it and win and get podiums, or he's going to be in that 7-4 spot.
So he's got a kind of, it's a make it or break it moment for Roczen to really see what he's doing. He's got the speed. I personally think with that Progressive sponsorship, I think he's going to surprise people. I really do. Cooksey, whatever, you even left. Where did you go? What was wrong?
I had to replug in my computer. It started dying.
Fit into your body again? Because just
sorry, mister. I'm going to be late for this because I got to get a coffee.
Dude, yeah. You need that effing caffeine. Haven't you heard the new statistics coming out that caffeine helps performance? It helps all sorts of stuff, man. So, all right, Coach, we're going to just skip Mr. No-Show over here. Roczen, do you think he's going to be able to make it happen? Or what are you looking for in round 2? I know he had Mookie last time. Who do you think is going to win?
Who do I think is going to win, or what's my opinion on Roczen? I'm not sure I understand your question.
Johnny doesn't understand his question.
Well, we have to think about that. And what are you thinking is going to happen in round 2? I think it's going to be another A1 where everybody's going to be super fidgety. They're going to be high on their coffee. They're going to be ready to make shit happen. So guys are going to be riding over their head. How do you think it's going to play out?
Let me just ask Coach the question in English. Coach, what do you think of Roczen, and who do you got to win this weekend?
With alongside, what the fuck is going on with Roczen?
I do agree with you 100%, Johnny. I think the weekend off is definitely going to throw a lot of people's momentum off completely. I do believe we'll see almost a carbon copy of what we saw at round one. Roxon will be up there early. I don't see him staying up there. In regards to winning, I don't think anyone's going to be able to outshake Tomac for a multitude of reasons. I think if you're asking me for top three, I think you're going to see Roxon, Sexton, and I think you're going to see Craig if the whoops are really gnarly. If they're not really gnarly, I think you'll see Anderson wrap up that top three. And just like Cheyenne said, I mean, nobody would be surprised to see Roxon come out and win. And with this new adjustment to suspension, if you go off of history, it's worked really well for him. And it might just be that missing piece that puts the final piece of the puzzle together. But as we said, going into A1, we've got nobody would be surprised if the top 10 is nowhere remotely close to A1, just because it's like an opening round all over again. So it's going to be an exciting race. I am kind of curious to see what kind of dirt quality we get. I always get a little concerned when we're bringing in stuff. The whole state is underwater. Did you hear, Johnny? Where did they get dry dirt from?
I just was told by people in social media messaging me saying that Feld supposedly brought in dry dirt from somewhere.
I just think it'd be interesting, but I don't know where it would come from. But it'd be cool to see.
Okay, I mean, there is covered dirt where you could go get from someplace. It would it's the amount of money that you'd spend. And then I guess on that note,
but what's the quality of that dirt?
My head.
What's
the new
what's
stadium.
The quality of that dirt?
Do I get to say who I can go?
We won't know. Supposedly I've heard that it's just dry. But
yeah.
my question is, beside just the dirt quality, is why do you think that they moved to a new stadium from Petco Park to the Snapdragon, which is a smaller stadium?
I don't. Were you asking?
Any of you guys? You guys?
Okay, since you cut me off on the last one, they're at Snapdragon because they probably got a better deal. It's a bigger stadium. It's a football-based stadium. I think they can build out a little bit more. The pits were a bit of a nightmare at Petco. You had to go down, like almost down a ways, so they couldn't really do the pit party, which costs a lot of money Feld makes a lot of money off of that. So that, but going back, since you totally skipped me on who I think is going to win, I think you guys are crazy to put Roxon in the top three when you've got Anderson, who's always good at San Diego, who's coming back, had a bad race, Sexton, Webb. So Tomac, like, there's no way Roxon's better than fifth, in my opinion, unless somebody goes down. I'm going to go ahead.
We didn't even hear what I had to say, but okay.
Hold on. I didn't put Roxon in top three. I said I think you'll be around the top five when it's all said and done, but not top three.
Okay.
I've got Tomac, Sexton, and if the whoops are big, Craig for third. If they're not that big, Anderson for third. That's my three. But I agree with you. I don't see Roxon at that top three, unless what Cheyenne said, that adjustment to the factory connection suspension, which we've seen it turn him around very quickly. That could be a huge component.
And we've also seen, as soon as he starts scrambling, he finds himself in left field. He almost talks himself out of a good setup a lot of times. I'm going to say Webb and the dirt, because if you go to the Instagram, I Corey 100, I believe, is who I follow on Instagram, who works for Dirtworks. That dirt looks soft. There's nobody better at finding the new inside rut and quick cornering than Cooper Webb. It might be his night. I mean, he's so good at that.
Have you heard anything about the dirt, Chris, where they're getting it from? What's it going to consistency?
I don't know where they got it from. It looks good though.
Okay. Can't
so
argue
you think
with
Corey
Webb
is
on those
going,
conditions.
You think Webb is going to win?
I don't think you can go against Tomac. He just looked too good at A1. But I'm going to go. I think Webb's going to win. I think Webb, because Tomac will probably get a bad start.
What?
I'm hoping.
How can you say bad start? He whole shot it last week.
It's.
If you're going off history, I don't blame you.
I don't know
how us all last time.
Well, I don't know how you logically. I don't know how you.
Those are whoops. Oh, those things look massive.
So they always look massive.
They are always massive.
They don't. TV doesn't do him justice.
It does not. And those guys, and the way like Cheyenne was saying, the way Roxon hits him and makes it look flat really doesn't show how hard they are. And then you see guys like in the C practice where I had people hitting me up in direct message telling me, why are the C guys like, you don't understand those dudes in that C practice. When you go to your local track and there's that dude that you go, I don't know how any could go faster. that's the guys in the seat practice.
That is so true. So true.
A lot of
No.
people in the comments are saying Sexton is going to win. And I personally, I think Tomac is going to be the favorite. But man, it would be cool to see somebody like AC turn it around and win. Even a Dylan Ferrandis would be freaking epic. But I think it's going to be between Sexton and Tomac race. I think it's going to be one of those races. It's going to be an outdoor national all over again.
And I'm going to go Webb.
How much fun would it be? Let's say Ferrandis comes out and wins, and Tomac's get what Ferrandis
His start
getting round
sucked
one?
though. That's the problem.
What Ferrandis getting round one? Fourth, fifth?
Fourth.
How cool would it be to be in that rig when Ferrandis comes out and wins, Tomac gets fourth, and what's it look like in the rig the next weekend? They're tied for points coming in. Yeah, I always say this: when you've got that much firepower underneath one tent, can you imagine the tension underneath there? You know how it is. There's usually that A rider, B rider, and everyone kind of knows the pecking order. When you've got those two guys and they've both gone 1-4, 4-1, can you imagine the tension underneath that? That would just be incredible to be around, just experience it. Because I would have to go all the way, correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys are historians with this. I'd have to go all the way back to what? Honda, when you had Bailey and O'Mara, you had those, and RJ, you had the power three under one tent, and the egos, there just wasn't enough oxygen in the room for all three. They still talk about it to this day. Every podcast they get on, they talk about that. Each one pushed each other. They hated each other. They resented each other. They respected each other. And look at what it produced. Just unbelievable.
Cheyenne, you've been on some of those arena cross teams where you battled with your teammate, right? And does it ever get awkward?
Yeah, so I've been on some teams, but I can't say that I've ever had any. I'm trying to sit here and think. I can't say that I've had too many awkward moments, so to say. But I do know that feeling of like you want to be the top guy on the team, and then you can very easily feel if you're not, or if you're kind of on even playing grounds as your teammate. I know for me personally, I think any racer guy, I mean, you want to be the top guy on the team. You want to be the team leader, so to say. So when you start feeling that threat, so to say, where you're not, things can definitely start getting a little weird.
Well, I think we saw it this last year. Can you imagine when that momentum shifted at the Honda camp when Sexton, where most of the attention was being placed, and Kenny was just kind of on struggle bus with everything? That would be in a very tumultuous environment to be in, for sure.
Well, and we're about to see it with Sexton and Jet, except for, Sexton's bouncing to go to KTM. So
yeah, we didn't even talk about 250s because I think everybody is in occurrence that Jet is going to win. Say aye if you think the 250 Jet.
Aye.
Cheyenne, you didn't say aye.
I hate saying it, but he's good. He's good. He's good.
What don't you like about him,
beat him this
Cheyenne?
weekend?
I'm sorry, I heard two people at once.
What don't you like about him?
Well, I don't know. It's probably because I race against him is why I don't like him. I mean, yeah, he's better than me. I don't look at it in that sense, but I don't know. There's something about their attitudes just kind of rub me the wrong way sometimes. I sometimes think that they maybe try too hard to put on a show with like their personalities. Maybe they don't. I've never hung out with them. I'm just going off of what I've seen in the races and social media. I personally not a fan, but I do respect their riding. They are great riders. You cannot deny that. His technique is, one of the best. So, but yeah, I think he's probably going to be the one to win. I mean, at this point, who else would be there to really challenge him? Hampshire's good, but I think Jet's just got the mental state over everybody of they know he's the guy to beat, and I think he obviously knows he's the guy to beat. So when you have that mindset, it's hard to beat that.
Yeah, and I don't think he did himself any favors by doing that interview before where he went third person. It never sounds good to go third person. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's just kind of the stuff I'm talking about. Just like the personality in those ways, I think sometimes just rubs me the wrong way. And I think other than that, I mean, like I said, I don't know him. I've never hung out with him. I do respect and admire his riding and his technique and all that. It's like I said, one of the best out there. So,
And Cheyenne, I appreciate your candidness to it. Actually being able to speak your mind is your initial thoughts on stuff, because it is completely different from seeing somebody on the track than it is actually seeing them off the track. And I think you're going to do great, dude. I would like to see you heal up and be able to be ready for East Coast Supercross. And that's kind of the segue here, guys. We are a little bit over an hour and the shit show has come to a conclusion. So I want everybody to go follow Cheyenne. He's going to be ready for East Coast Supercross, or at least that's what he's trying to do. And make sure that you even go check out Cooksey's new channel, because he talks a lot of other stuff about politics and you name it, football,
Slap
whatever.
leagues.
Yeah, smoking dope, all sorts of different stuff.
Not smoking
other
dope, slap leagues.
You said something about weeds, but make sure that
No, I said
you go
league.
check him out.
League.
I keep interrupting you. I cannot hear what you're saying. Make sure you check out Coach Robb as well. I've got his links in the description, and then hang out for next week's show for the shit show number 4. We'll have another guest on there. I appreciate all you guys coming out here. Cheyenne, since you're our guest, do you have anything to say to leave? Where can we find you? Do you have a sponsor you'd like to thank? And thanks again for coming out and bantering with us.
yeah, I appreciate y'all having me on. Gave me something to look forward to this week when you asked me to come on, because I go and do therapy in the morning on my leg, and then the rest of the afternoon I'm kind of couch riding, because there's just not a lot to do when you're trying to heal from the injury I have with my leg. But yeah, I'm hoping, our goal is to be back for Dallas. Today is 2 weeks since I've been injured, and I'm 4 weeks non-weight bearing. So, it's going to be pushing it, but we're pushing to be back for that race. If not, if we're ready, we're ready. If we're not, we're not. I've been riding really well, and I've been working on a lot of things during this off season, and as well with racing arena cross. And, I've had some good finishes there, and, I have a lot of good momentum. So I want to make sure I can come back when I can really show the real me and the results that I can get. But yeah, as far as sponsors goes, I'm riding for the CycleZone KTM team this year, and very thankful for them giving me a platform. Last year I did I did have help, but I was going to the races kind of alone, and kind of doing my own program. And I remember I was walking back, we were at Anaheim 3. I was walking back to my hotel by myself after dinner, and I passed another couple other guys that were racing with their crew and family, and I was by myself. And I was just like, man, I'm not going to do this again like this next year, because it's too hard. It's hard trying to find a mechanic every weekend, get the races, get your bike ready. And I've done that in the past for many years, and I know that was holding me back from going to the next level. So going into this year, I told myself I need a platform to go racing where I can do my job and I can put some more focus into showing up and just racing. And the CycleZone KTM team provided me with that. And so far it's been great. I'm very thankful for the team owner, Jeff, for believing in me. And, not only while, bringing me on, but while I'm hurt, still being encouraging and, not threatening, like, hey, if you're not back by this race, your spot's gone, kind of thing. So, so I'm very thankful for that. Again, thank you all for having me on. I really appreciate it. And, thanks for the garage floor in Cooksey. I'm excited to get that stuff put up. And,
Hey, thanks, Cheyenne, dude. We'll be following you. I know we're going to be following you closer, and we'd love to have you back on the channel. Cooksey, I know you wanted to tell everybody what your second channel is, so the floor is yours.
All day, every day with Cooksey. I would appreciate it. I'm trying to get that one monetized. And like Johnny said, I'm talking about weed. I'm not talking about any weed whatsoever. It's about the slap league. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's the dumbest thing in the world, but I can't stop watching, where you just stand over a barrel and smack each other in the face. So anyway, Go check that out. I appreciate
That
it.
sounds so stupid.
It's so dumb, but I can't stop watching, Johnny. But I honestly think if we can turn a negative into a positive, these guys have literally volunteered to have their heads slapped. And we can use them for concussion research. That's it.
Coach, please say something more productive. Where do we find
I watched that guy who got the side of his face completely just realigned, just rearranged, and I'm just like, who voluntarily does this?
I agree with you. Who does?
Yeah, I'm with you. I guess it's so absurd. It's mesmerizing, as you said. So, no, I want to thank Cheyenne for coming on. Seriously, thoughts and prayers are with you, brother, on healing up. Personally, if I can help in any way, reach out, and I mean that sincerely. Happy to help in any way. And for all those that are here with us live, thank you for supporting this. I know a lot of people. Thank you, Johnny. That's our sports drink energy fuel. Shameless plug there. But no, seriously, a lot of people thought that the concept of this show would not be very well received. And to see 10,000 views on this, and, like Chris always says, we'll take constructive criticism any day of the week. If you're just going to leave a nasty message, do yourself a favor and don't waste your time. But we want to say thanks to all those, like Johnny says all the time. We just want to be able to talk about different things and just try to bring attention to things. Not that we think we're always right, but just bringing different perspective. And I've had some people that have hit me up and said, they've said some derogatory things as to why I'm on the show. Hey, I'm still the biggest fan of the sport and always will be. And a chance to bench race with someone like Cheyenne, and then to have Chris and Johnny every week, I'm never going to pass up a chance to bench race ever. I love to bench race. And I want to thank both Chris and Johnny for the opportunity. And for those that have been commenting and with us, thank you. We'll continue to be ourselves. And as long as you're cool with that, we're not politically correct and we don't believe in cancel culture. Everybody's got a voice. Thank you for supporting the show. And Johnny, thanks a ton for putting it together, brother.
Yeah, it's unfiltered. We're never going to censor any voices, even if you have something negative to say. That's what we're here for, guys. We're supposed to banter. Anyway, appreciate all you guys. Till next weekend, next Friday. Robb, keep it WFO. Cheyenne, love you, man.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.